Good morning. Welcome to today's morning power up call. It's a good, happy Sunday morning for me here. I'm happy to join with you guys. I know some of you it's the afternoon, some of you it's the middle of the night. We live in a global world where time zones are a thing. So we're taking this moment all over the world to join together. And I mean, it's a marvelous thing if you really think about it. So many of you are the only ones in your, let's say, world, your friends, your family, your school, or your associations is really truly pushing forward, really truly trying to become the best version of yourself possible. And that can feel lonely at times because you're the only one. But the nice thing is that you have the real world, you have the copywriting campus, you have the opportunity to bond and join with other men who are on the same path with you. And every day we have this little ritual where we get together. Either you're watching this later as a replay or you're watching it now live, but we get to join together, all of us, pause for just a few seconds and focus our minds on an idea, on something that's going to help us achieve that far off goal that you guys have set of becoming personally and financially free. And I'm happy to be here with you guys. Happy to be the one that gets to share some ideas with you guys today. I'm not going to do too much as far as announcement goes. We're trucking along. We've got some new content ready for you guys later today and the beginning of this next week. So stay tuned for that. But I just want to jump right into the lesson. I just want to talk about the idea today because I think this is a simple but an important idea and a mindset shift for a lot of you. Most of you have grown up going to school, right? You've gone to a little school, you've gone to elementary school and went to high school, and they taught you how to do things. You follow certain steps. Here's the steps to solve the quadratic formula or whatever, right? They tell you nice little steps of what you're supposed to do, and then they send you off in the world learning to. You get really, really good at following steps. Like that's your job. You show up and you follow the process. It's because school was designed, like regular education, public education was designed to produce factory workers. Back in the day, they're like, we need more factory workers to run the machines so we can create more textiles or whatever, right? Like back in the Industrial Revolution. So they invented public school, right? Like that's what it was all about. And so they got really good at teaching people at like how to be mindless drones, just go and do things, right? Follow specific steps. And then that was it. That's all you learned how to do, was just how to follow the steps, how to stay inside the box. And that's good and all. And it's important to, I guess, learn how to follow procedure. However, it becomes a major liability when you get into the real world, especially when you get into the world working for yourself, because no longer is it about the steps that you follow, it's about the results that you make. And for a lot of you guys, I can see this mindset shift happening when I'm talking to you guys in the chats, when we're doing the live calls. You guys will ask questions, and you'll every so often I'll get someone that comes in. They're like, "Hey, I'm testing what is better, long outreach or short outreach messages?" And they're like, "I'm getting better results with longer ones, but should I be doing shorter ones?" And I always am like, dude, if you're getting results, if the data is clearly showing that what you're doing over here is working, that trumps any kind of recommendation that I might give you, right? Data and results are, greater than everything else. Like that's the whole point, is to create those results, create those outcomes. And that's a major shift a lot of people have to make. Results are more important than the guidelines. The stuff I teach, like, sure, there's some things that are immutable. There's some things about like human nature and how people perceive things and how curiosity works. There's some of those things that are immutable. Like those people will move away from pain and towards pleasure. Like that's forever going to be a constant in this world. There will be roadblocks that are stopping them, and they need help to find a solution to get solve those roadblocks and get to where they want to go. There's certain things that are immutable, but a lot of the tiny little stylistic things, and how long that short form copy should be, and what a Facebook ad should have on it, a lot of that are just guidelines. There's a bunch of different ways you can achieve the same outcome. And the actual outcome, the results of the communication is what matters above everything else. I remember one of the times I had this lesson taught to me. I was brand new in the military. I just got through basic training, and I joined this unit. And so my job when I was in the military was to be what's called a fire direction control specialist for an artillery unit. So in the artillery unit, you've got these giant cannons, right? We were mechanized units, so they look like tanks. But instead of shooting little rounds, short distances, they shot big rounds really far, like kilometers and kilometers away from the target. I used to think of it as like a sniper rifle, like a giant sniper rifle, like operated by mice. It was very similar, right? Because we'd have to, the guns would have to point in a certain direction. We have to help them get their elevation right, the actual angle of the thing here. One second, I'll be right back. back. So you have to get the angle right. You have to get it pointed the right direction, and you would adjust it over. My job was to help coordinate these guns, help them shoot together, and help them aim, like correct their aim to hit the target, right? Because you'd shoot around, and it'd be 50 meters off, and so you'd have to readjust it over, right? And that's how I operated back then, right? I was helping these guys get rounds on target. And then the whole point of artillery, if you've ever seen the movies like World War I, World War II, like they would just use artillery to just destroy the enemy at distance. You hammer them with artillery, and then they can move the infantry and do what they need to do. It's to support the infantry to actually maneuver and take objectives. When I first got there, I just come out of the schoolhouse, right? So you go to the schoolhouse, they teach you how everything's supposed to be done, the doctrine, right? They call it the doctrine of the military, what needs to be done. You follow this procedure, you do this is what you have to do. This is the correct procedure to get rounds on target. And I remember I showed up to my unit, and I remember getting there, and we went and did one of our exercises. And one of the digital, like the digital systems for one of the guns went down. Like it didn't work anymore. So that really wasn't something. And like the correct way would have been to like take them out of action and to completely like redo everything, boot them up, run the mission differently. But I remember the gun chief. So my section, the guy who like was in control of this entire battery and helped directing, he's this old salty guy. I'd been to like 4 deployments, crazy cool like war stories. A really awesome guy, salty dude, bald headed too. Funny thing, awesome guy. And I remember him hopping on the radio, and I was thinking in my head, okay, well, we got to follow this procedure, do this, because that's what it says. He hopped on the radio, got in touch with the gun chief, the guy who was running that Paladin, that cannon, had him drive over like 20, I think it was like within 50 meters of another gun, and he's like, I'm gonna have you shoot the same data as this gun. So whenever like you would just have the gun shoot the same elevation and the same quadrant is what it's called, where you point the gun. He had him just shoot the same data as the other gun, and so that they could get rounds on target, right? So we fired those missions. We finished those missions. We got rounds on target, because that is what mattered the most, is getting rounds on target. So we did what we needed. We changed the guidelines. We operated maybe a little outside of doctrine in order to get those rounds on target quickly and efficiently. And in this case, it was training, right? He was just doing what he did in a deployment, right? Back when when lives were on the line, when you had to get rounds on target, or else American infantrymen were dying, right? He did what he did to show. And I remember talking about him with it afterwards. I'm like, dude, that was completely different than what they said in the schoolhouse, but it was really cool. He's like, yeah, dude, all that matters is rounds on target. He's like, how we get them there, like that doesn't actually truly matter. Sure, we should follow some guidelines. We should stay safe. Physics is still the same. You still have to account for weather and the wind and elevation and like point the gun in the right direction. Like that still has to happen. But at the end of the day, all that matters is the rounds end up on target. And that stuck with me, right? And then that was right about the same time I was kind of launching my own businesses and doing my own stuff. And I remember thinking, okay, so like following all the steps that people tell me to, like that's important. Like I should take that information and think about it and use it. But at the end of the day, if I need to change something or the data is telling me clearly that this other thing is working, I'm going to follow the data, because all that matters is rounds on target. So as you guys go through this program, I'm going to give you a lot of guidelines. Some things are going to be physics. Some things are going to be actual laws of human nature, and you need to follow them. But at the end of the day, stylistically, little things that change, little differences between this part of the outreach, that part of the outreach, testing this angle out, this channel, this niche, this offering, this story. I might tell you one thing, but if you test it out and the data says something else, I want you, and I'm giving you guys my permission or my blessing to ignore what I'm saying and follow in that moment what the data is telling you, what the results are telling you, because all that matters is getting rounds on target, is getting the outcome that you're looking for. That's the whole point of communication. You change what you do until you get the outcome that you're looking for from the person that you're talking to. So my friends, free your mind, break free of guidelines, of dogma, of the empty doctrine, and realize that if you need to adapt and improvise in order to get the actual result that you're here to get, by all means do so. You can break free of the recommendations as long as you're getting the results that you want. Now, don't break free just for the fun of it, right? It's not a good idea in the artillery situation. Just like, forget this whole being safe thing. I'm going to point my gun the complete opposite direction and fire that way. Who cares if there's civilians over there? Like, no, I'm just going to do it because I want to be different. That's not what we're talking about here. I'm talking about actively making a decision to make a change to the guideline in order to achieve the actual result, right? If you're doing something different and it's not getting you results, I recommend you do what we recommend you to do, right? But if you do something different and it helps you get results, or you make an informed deviation from the guidelines to get better results, and you get better results, that is what I want you all to do that actively. So keep this in mind. The only thing that matters in this world is the outcome that you generate. The ends, The means are a means to an end, right? I'm teaching you guys the means. Feel free to adapt the means. Use this lesson, use this idea, break free, use your mind to change whatever you need to change. If you need to get the results you need to get. My friends, I want you guys to realize that results are more important than guidelines, they're more important than doctrine. Getting rounds on target is most important. So you have my blessing to be different and do what you need to do to succeed. My friends, appreciate this time we have together. I've enjoyed hopping on this call. I'll talk to you guys again later today or tomorrow. We're definitely going to do a morning power tomorrow like we always do. So until then, use this information, get rounds on target, be successful. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.